Welcome again to another edition of the League of the Genuine, special emphasis on Anti-Counterfeit Network, ACN, at 5 years. We are 5 years old this February. And in the studio, like we had last time, is my co-founder of the Anti-Counterfeit Network, Mr. Kawesa, Richard. We promised you last week that we shall be continuing a conversation of the 5 years journey of the Anti-Counterfeit Network to help you have a deep understanding on what it is that the network stands for, what it hopes to do in the fight against fakes, against substandard, against counterfeits. We are the only show on the planet that is dedicated, that is focused on fighting, talking about, advocating, creating awareness about counterfeits. So to continue the program with me is my friend here, Richard. Last week, you remember we had a discussion on some of the values, some of the strategies that the Anti-Counterfeit Network has been employing in the last 5 years. Today, I would like us to go a little more specific in terms of activities. What are those highlights of activities that we have done? I'll start by asking Richard. The Anti-Counterfeit Network is not just a Ugandan organization. The Anti-Counterfeit Network understands that the problem of counterfeits is cross-border. Because if you're fighting fakes which are in Uganda, you must understand that they have gone through Kenya to reach here, and you must understand that they can leave Uganda to go to Congo, to go to Sudan, to go to Rwanda. The viewers would like to understand what is the Anti-Counterfeit Network is doing or has done in the last 5 years in the region and in other parts of the world.
Thank you, Fred. Well, what is exciting was that trip we made to Kenya.
When was that trip?
That was 2018.
2018, yes.
2018, yes. First, I think, half of the year. But what was interesting about that trip is that, of course, we were hosted by the Anti-Counterfeit Agency, which is like the state authority on counterfeit.
It's like Kenya. The UNBS of Kenya, but dealing with counterfeits.
Okay, yes, something like that. Yes, you're more expressive on that. And what was interesting is that we had a meeting with people like Samsung, brands like Samsung, Monsanto, with their, they have one of those, I think.
Monsanto deals in?
Is that Weedmaster? Agricultural
chemicals,
inputs, yes, and stuff like that. I think even seeds, you know, like maize and all these type of things. People like, I think there was HP as well, the Kenya Manufacturers Association. But what was interesting is how all these people were brought together in the understanding on how counterfeit are actually affecting their business. Example is Samsung. They literally had to close the Ugandan center here.
We had a dealership or service center.
They pulled out.
Somewhere on Kampala Road.
They pulled out. Now imagine Samsung, and this is a phone that we most likely use, but the idea of them pulling out is because, and so that was very interesting to know that they do appreciate the impact of counterfeit. Monsanto did its own research about some of their products, and the percentage of counterfeit was alarming. Yes. Yes, so, yes, and of course the Anti-Counterfeit Agency was also doing a lot of work because they actually received a lot of political goodwill from Kenyatta the second term, and he was emphasizing on some key aspects of business, and one of them is to, of course, reduce poverty, increase manufacturing by a certain percentage from 7 to something. And once he understood as a president that counterfeit, and this was done very well by the Kenya Manufacturing Association, they explained to the president that if you do not fight counterfeit, all the big 5 dreams you have
will not be
achieved. And once he understood that, we saw political will. I mean, key government officials were arrested. There was a lot of pressure on counterfeiters. And but we advised them. I remember one of the things we said to them is, it's very important to have political will, but if the consumer is not sensitized to understand what you're doing, they are going to actually defend the counterfeiter and make the president's, votes a victim of that. And it actually happened. A few years later, the pressure had to go down. They suffered some political aspects and stuff. So counterfeiting, working with the external communities, allowed us to see that the same thing we're struggling with is actually
it's cross-border.
And
of course, the Anti-Counterfeit Agency of Kenya was reciprocating, because we had just organized the CEO dialogue that year, which was graced by the presence of many dignitaries, including the executive director.
Yes.
And I remember in the discussion we had with them here at Serena, there was a lot of emphasis on border measures. Can there be cooperation between the Kenya customs authorities with the Ugandan customs authorities? Of course, the benefit being that they all have one international system on tracking, a SCUDA, which they use. But the thing, I think that coming back from Kenya that was picked was the disparity in political support for the fight against counterfeits. In Uganda, the truth is that we don't have as much political will to support counterfeits. Maybe that explains why we are here right now. This should actually be a government initiative, but we should not complain. It's an opportunity for private sector to come out. On my part, I think it was 2019, because viewers need to understand, as I have said, it's not just a Ugandan problem. You're kidding yourself if you think that you'll fight those fake cosmetics by just controlling them in Uganda.
But for example, you went to Nigeria.
Yes, and that's the point I wanted to make. There was a report in the media. URA seized a lot of cosmetics with hydroquinone, that thing which the ladies use to bleach, and it's causing skin cancers and things like that. So we came up with the idea that we need to have, as a network, we need to have a network in Africa. And where else must you have a footprint? You must have a footprint in Nigeria.
Yes.
So I did go to Nigeria with the invitation of the architects in the society. There was a conference on the World Interior Designers and Architects, which was in Lagos. So I represented the Anti-Counterfeit Network at that congress. What struck me, there were a lot of professors, a lot of architects, and I was asking them that as practitioners in the building construction industry, do they have a policy on counterfeits? For example, if you are going to procure electrical wiring and so on, do you have any checkpoint on assuring that we do not have fake wires going in, or we do not have fake taps for the finishing?
Paints.
And actually, that issue did not make it to the agenda of the Congress. The issue of counterfeits in interior designing and architecture wasn't there at all. So I was encouraged on that basis to say, can we have at least a boutique office, a satellite office in Nigeria? And I found something also quite interesting, that in Nigeria, when we're applying to register as a foreign company, the Attorney General of the state, forget these companies you do here, where you just go to URSB and get the certificate in 2 days. In Nigeria, you actually need the Attorney General to give you like a letter of some letter of no objection or something, and even then we couldn't keep the name.
I remember the name.
The way it is as Anti-Counterfeit Network, largely because Nigeria again has also got a specialized anti-counterfeit agency. I think it's called National NAFDA, something like that. But it also has a lot of non-state actors trying to fight counterfeit. So there was an agency there which had a similar name. So Fortunately, 2019 we succeeded
eventually
to get ACN registered in Nigeria, and I think we also did the same for Kenya. Somehow COVID stopped our progress.
We're supposed to go to, last year in March, we were supposed to go to Malaysia together.
We were supposed to go to Malaysia.
Technology,
we got technology partners there. You know, to fight counterfeits, like we explained, it's 5 pillars. Yeah. One of those pillars is awareness, which we are doing, but the other most important pillar is technology. So the Malaysians, you were in touch with those guys.
Malaysians,
quite interesting.
Taiwan,
and Taiwan.
Yeah.
And we were trying, what were we trying to do with them?
Taiwan and Malaysia are very big on anti-counterfeit technology, on currencies, money, and in different sectors, medicines and stuff like that. We felt that there was need for us to have such a partner so that we can do a lot of synchronizing technologies across some of the places where ACN is in Africa. And I think that's what I love about ACN. The fact that it's ACN Africa, that the dream is we have to be present. We have to Africa has to protect itself from counterfeit. No one is going to do that for us. So partnerships with Asia to deal with something that is as wide as this across Africa, that was really the cornerstone of our purpose.
Yeah, what you need to understand, Africa is a dumping ground. Africa is a dumping ground for many of the goods, many of the products. Even the quality of fuel we use. The Americans have discovered a new fuel, a new premium fuel. I want to tell you that the fuel that we use on this continent is the low grade. Okay, the argument is we are poor, we cannot afford. So, whereas
our cars are old.
Yes. So there was a time actually I heard from one of the big petroleum companies that they had developed a fuel which was so advanced that when they introduced it on the world market and brought it to Uganda, to this region, the complaint from the dealers here was this fuel doesn't work because it is too advanced for the cars we have. At that time, there was no limit on the age of the cars that we're using. So you can imagine that the company, having developed a high quality product, had to degrade it to come down to the Ugandan African level. This, gentlemen and ladies, whoever is listening out there, Lord, and you're an African, this is where you are. On the table of equals as world citizens, we are a notch lower. We have allowed ourselves not to enjoy the same rights and opportunities, and we feel that counterfeits, fake products, substandard products are one way of maintaining us in that degradation, in that area of control. And that's why this program seeks to appeal to your mind. This program seeks to cause a behavior change for you to appreciate that just like other human beings, you are entitled. And that leads me to getting outside Uganda. Internally, we also did some quite important things. I remember we were invited. We had a water congress. Was it 2019 or 2020?
Yes, courtesy of Total, our client.
Our partners, Total, were among the sponsors.
Yes.
The water congress was a meeting of all, for the Ugandans, a meeting of all the national waters in Africa. Yes. I think there were about 60 water bodies in the room. We were again at Serena. The Congress was opened by the president. More than 4,000 delegates from all over Africa, experts. I saw a lot of development partners there as well. We had an opportunity to be among the few private sector actors who were invited to speak at the Congress.
But again, remember when we came to speak, initially our theme was, the counterfeit theme wasn't accounted for.
No, it wasn't. And this is very interesting because I remember we asked for the program layout. And I was speaking to National Water and I was saying, what is it in the space of contamination? Because that's what they understand. Yes. In the space of contamination, what is the Congress or conference going to discuss? And what actually happened was that beautiful speech by the MD of National Water, showing how the penetration and access to water had increased, I think, by 54%. But the issue of actually our speech that we wrote, unfortunately we couldn't present because we were supposed to speak to the delegates at midday. And then that's the day the president was opening the, the Congress. So when the president indicated he was coming, all the speeches and programs which had to take place at that time had to wait.
Yeah.
And so the president spoke up to 2 o'clock. So we missed a chance to advance the cause for the contamination and counterfeiting in water.
But there was a paper, yeah.
Fortunately, they produced a magazine which went everywhere, and where our presentation was also produced. And the argument was, whereas we are talking about access to safe water as a sustainable development goal number 5, we need to look at the contaminants. Those things, if you are doing pipe work to send water to a far-to-reach
from point A to B,
a far-to-reach community, it matters very much what kind of pipes are being used. A lot of the pipes that are used in Uganda, that are used in this part of the world, have levels of lead that are way beyond the recommended levels by WHO. So a lot of the disease that we have,
the cancers,
which is waterborne, even before you go to the cancers, kids below 5 years, what are the things that are causing high mortality among kids below 5 years? Dysentery, diarrhea, those diseases. People are dying because of that. So a big Congress, again, the issue of counterfeits wasn't there. The other one, I think it was also in 2020, we again invited
the Uganda Business Summit.
The Uganda-Europe Business Summit. This was, I think, the last international conference to be held in Uganda before COVID.
Yes, February.
Before COVID
came March, in. Actually.
Was it
that
March?
Was March, early first week of March. And COVID lockdown happened last week of March.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And again, I think I was sitting on the panel of LPG gas.
Yes.
The theme of the Uganda Business Conference was building sustainable businesses, environmentally friendly and so on. So there was an aspect on LPG gas. And again, I remember there was a Ugandan lady, I forget her name. She's an expert in oil and gas. She sits in Paris. She was moderating. And she came to me and said, look, I have reviewed, because you are required to submit your papers before to see. And she called me and said, look, I have not had anyone, I've not seen any research, any paper
on counterfeit
in the area of faking of LPG gas. And yet LPG gas, according to those who produce it, it is supposed to cut on the consumption of wood fuel, cutting of trees for cooking, which you know is very common. And our presentation was well received, and we are happy that we introduced on the agenda the issue of counterfeits.
And I think that's what makes ACN very proactive. The idea that we go where the brave dare not go. You know, we speak to points, speak to topics, bring to consciousness, make them top of mind, sort of awareness around counterfeit. That's a subject, as you keep saying, that is underestimated. Yet we live with its effect every day.
I'll tell you, Richard, we had a conversation here on our guest of the month program. We invite a member of the public. We had a prominent Ugandan here, Alhaji Habib Kajimu. He's in petroleum, he's in our honorary consul to Malaysia. And he's shocked. Now I would like us to talk about what has shocked us in this journey of ACN at 5. I was shocked. He said on the program that he has been a victim of counterfeit high-priced watches. There's a watch he called Coram, Patek Philippe. These are very expensive watches.
How much? How expensive?
Richard, these are watches which will cost upwards of $30,000, $50,000. He was saying the counterfeiter is not only hitting the lowest in society,
goods,
faking the milk and all this. The counterfeiter has got the sophistication as well to go and have a plant or whatever industry to manufacture a quorum watch. And for me, it shocked me because I thought that counterfeits is a thing for the poor and so on. I mean, counterfeits is like cancer. It affects the rich, it affects the poor. And that leads me to, in this journey of 5 years, because before the 5 years, you really were not engaging intimately
this
with
wasn't
counterfeits. What are some
I was
of those
into
things?
intellectual property and like musician and stuff, but not the other side.
Not the other
Piracy,
side.
yes, I was cautious of that, but counterfeit, no.
In these 5 years on your journey to fight counterfeits, what are those things that you'd like to share with the viewers that have shocked you, that you didn't know, that blew you up off your feet about counterfeits that you've seen?
That's a very good one. The one that comes to my mind first is, you know, like how you go to the Pope in Rome and you are speaking for the Catholic Church. Then you realize that no, you're becoming too Catholic over and above the Pope. You're more Catholic than the Pope. So speaking about counterfeit and how they affect businesses and brands was one of those convictions that I thought if we went to those who are affected, they will embrace us. The shock was that it turns out some of these counterfeiters, the official distributors of major brands, international brands, are actually counterfeiters. They bring 10%, but 90% of what they also bring are fakes. So the contamination is within the distribution system. That for me was a shaker.
So when you hear that this is authorized distributor of Philips,
you have a confidence that
you know that you're buying genuine.
However,
so what you discovered is that the legitimate business distribution channel is actually infiltrated.
Yes, that was a shocker, because then now how do you fight? You how do you fight? How do you start? They control the distribution. It's within. It's a cancer. How do you start? Do you have to cut off some parts?
Richard, one of my shocks, I think we hosted, again, it should have been 2018. That year we hosted a team of territory representatives, I think, brand representatives for medicines, these big pharmas.
Oh, yeah.
I think AstraZeneca came, GlaxoSmithKline Beecham, the agent from Nairobi came. We had somebody also standing in for Pfizer. We had, I think another was Roche. What shocked me, what really shocked me, and recently we were at the Cancer Institute. We're doing some work with the Cancer Institute. What shocked me, and which is a common practice, is that medicines, when they are manufactured, they are manufactured for specific countries because of their geographical location, because of their weather, because of the temperatures. So many of you Ugandans will have people who are sick.
And Africans, generally.
We have this tendency of, I called my daughter, I called my uncle in the US. They are going to get me medicines for heart problem, medicines for cancer. What I discovered talking to these representatives for these brands was that when a product is manufactured, it could be manufactured for a temperate climate.
Yeah.
You do not get a product from a temperate climate in the UK
to the tropics
and bring it to the tropics. And to make matters worse,
on a plane.
Tropics, where the temperature on average is 25 degrees, this product is supposed to be transported and stored in special conditions at a certain temperature. What do most of us do? I have gone to Turkey. Turkey is a big source of medicine. Not only do we get medicine here with the directions and inscriptions are in Turkish, so you cannot read, that's one problem. But the products are manufactured for the Turkish, that batch is manufactured for the Turkish environment. You bring that product here.
On a plane, in a luggage, up in the cabin.
In a briefcase. You come with it, store it somewhere.
Yeah.
And sometimes the same product, it's a medicine for heart disease or for cancer. And then most of our pharmacies do not have cold storage or special storage for these medicines. They are cancer medicines which must be stored at 10 degrees, below 10 degrees, below 20. Those medicines are put on the shelf in the pharmacy.
At 25
so Mr.
degrees.
Richard will go, I want to buy for my auntie, for my mom, medicine for heart disease or for whatever it is.
At that time,
and you get it off the shelf.
At that time, is it medicine or poison?
I was told that there is a drug for cancer. The name is serum or something. Its composition, it has some liquid. If the temperature changes, that liquid disappears. So you are exposed to the other internal ingredients, which are lethal. So the reason why, this was a shocker. I'm sure you have seen some cases where somebody is diagnosed with cancer and in 6 months they are dead.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they have been on treatment. The treatment has the right name, but because the treatment, the tablets or the injection or whatever, has been procured from a wrong source and brought in a wrong environment, which is hotter, the treatment doesn't actually have any effect. It does not work.
But you've paid for it.
Of course.
Highly.
I was shocked that somebody can carry a briefcase of some of those medicines for heart and cancer, and each treatment, each dose could be 10 tablets or something, $2,000. So if somebody is going to
that's an Ipsum for some of us.
You see what I'm saying?
Ipsums.
So one of the shockers that, and we don't have information at all. We have a National Drug Authority, for example. We have a UNBS. Where have you ever had information being given to you that please, when you board a plane, these traders who go to China, who go to Turkey, who go to UK, please do not buy medicines from those countries and bring to your loved ones here. You're killing them.
But Fred, you are taxing that on who? On UNBS?
No,
This was my shocker.
National Drug Authority.
Yeah, but this is my shocker. UNBS, I used to think its mandate was to fight fakes. The shocker is when I discovered that no, they have no mandate fighting fakes, they fight substandard. Now, in that regard, would you consider such medicine substandard? And do they even have those standards for those type of medicines as UNBS? Let's just...
I will answer in both in these ways. A substandard product is a product that does not meet the standard.
So there must be a standard?
Yes.
Okay.
So if it's a mattress, if it's an iron bar, if it's a med, the chemical composition, the efficacy of that chemical composition will operate in a certain environment. That's why they will tell you, keep the meds in a certain temperature.
That's a standard.
If you do not keep the meds at a certain temperature in storage, then you have not met the standard of storage, which is part of the standard of the product. Okay. Because the storage will affect the product itself. So it becomes substandard. Whereas it was originally manufactured from the true manufacturer, the handling made it substandard.
Okay.
On the other hand, how did it become counterfeit? Counterfeit is not only about you trying to duplicate a name and forge from Nokia to Nokia. No. Counterfeits also include what we call gray goods. Gray goods are those goods that are dumped in a market where they are not supposed to be. The example of the medicines I've said that people are getting from Turkey. Those become counterfeit.
Is that what they call parallel trading?
Yes, they become parallel goods, and they are usually caused due to sometimes scarcity, maybe you don't have distribution in the area, but also to price arbitrage. You get the genuine product in a place where it is priced lower, and then you take it in a place where you will be able to make a bigger margin. Yeah. Uganda has one of the highest price, at least for meds. There are a lot of medicines. Metakelfin in Uganda will cost 20-30% more than metakelfin in Rwanda. And yet it will be going through this place. So the shocker, when you go on this journey, when you get intimate with what counterfeits are doing and in what forms they present themselves, it's a big shock. One of the other things that really made me so sad, and which makes me get goose pimples whenever I hear that somebody has gone downtown to do shopping for many of these toothpaste and all these issues. The amount of faking that takes place there, I'll tell you. Many of the importers, Ugandan importers, who go to China, for example, this is what they do. They go to a factory to buy whether baby food or whatever it is, and what do? They will connive with the salesperson in the factory to get for them those products whose expiry date is so near. The expiry date is so near, so those products will be basically boarded off by the factory. You understand? So if a product is $100, because it's about to expire, the factory will board it off at $10 or something like that. I want to assure you that if we did an audit, most of the imports that come into this country from China are about to be expired. But what do they do then? They bring the products here. Of course, inspection is poor because we have SGS and all these big companies. They don't want to inspect small cargo for these small people. They want to inspect the containers, the imports for the big companies, breweries and so on. The small guys are actually not having inspection. Because Intertech or whoever may not look at them. You have your small cargo, they will not look at it. So most of them will just pay a fine. Because surprisingly, there is a fine. If you import goods in the country and you've not gone through inspection, you pay a fine. So they are happy to pay the fine. The reason they are happy to pay the fine is because they bought, many of them, bought goods which are almost expired. So what do they do when they reach here? What they do is they then rub off the expiry date and give a product a new shelf life. So you get a product expiring in February 2021. So then they will say year of manufacture was January 2021, expires after 5 years. The problem, some of them forget, products have specific shelf life. So some of them forget and put a very long shelf life. So you find a product, over and above. Yes, you find a food being given 7 years. Food is supposed to have 1, 2, 3 years, you know.
Oh my goodness.
This is another shocker that I found. And the challenge is you feel so helpless knowing that the majority of people that are buying and consuming these products are actually consuming expired products. And it's going on and it looks like it will not end. How I wish we had the capacity. I know we work with customs. But how I wish we had the capacity to actually cause the real proper inspection of these products from the countries of origin. That is where the ball is dropped.
That's where it is, yeah.
There is no inspection. Yeah. So most of the products come in, and what are we doing as a country? We are pushing pressure on the URA, increase the taxes. So every month they are announcing, we've done a surplus. We've done a surplus of fake imports.
But now, as a lawyer, if stuff like that come in and they are poisonous, and probably many people are dying and we don't even know that that's the cause because we don't do research, is there a law somewhere? Is there a relationship between something like that and genocide? That's an extreme, but I'm trying to, because if you buy stuff in that volume, spread it all over the place, how different are you from a rebel guy who goes out and kills masses? What's the difference there?
I think you're worse. Let me give you some stats. The Iraq War, one of the big wars we've had of recent, it cost about 200,000 lives of combatants if you put the non-combatants, maybe 500,000. That is the Iraq-Iran war, where you had all they used to call them those things which used to shoot down Saddam's missiles, the American missiles. It cost probably, I think $1 trillion or something like that. And the cost on human life, I've told you, is about 400,000. Compare that with every year, about 700,000 Africans die from the consumption of counterfeit anti-malarials.
Okay.
Half of those are children, the future of this continent. Half of them, 700,000, die from
Every year,
consuming fake anti-malarials. We have not added consumption of fake cancer drugs. We've not added consumption of fake TB drugs. We've not added consumption of fake HIV drugs. Now, the mortality rate that a counterfeiter can cause to society is far, far higher
than any war we've ever known.
Than any war.
Because this is happening every year.
Yes, terrorism, which is considered to be one of the huge problems in the world. Terrorism every year in the world will account for less than 50,000 deaths. Terrorism. But it's a big issue, everybody is talking about it. Counterfeits, for example, in the motor world. In the motor world, let's talk about the motor world. You guys, every time you're seeing these border guys, it's raining and somehow they are causing a lot of accidents. You go to Malago, their legs are all up. People are dying because of motor accident. But it's not just down to reckless the indiscipline of the border riders
and all these things.
The truth of the matter is that most of the brakes on these borders are fake. Most of the tubes are fake.
Taxes.
Most of the lights are fake. But do we ever do an audit to establish the source of this product, who imported them? When an accident is reported, when a motor accident is reported,
what is the cause?
The headline is, according to the officer on the scene, they saw some marks of the tires, and what caused the accident was overspeeding, and we shall give you an update as the story develops. In actual fact, what caused the accident is the counterfeit brakes or the wiring system, because there's a report that was done by Ministry of Transport, and it stated, I think this was 2018, the report stated that the accidents that we have on the roads, and by the way, Africa has only 2 or 3% of the world's new cars, okay? Our market for the new cars is only 2-3%, but we account for 99% of the deaths caused by motor accidents. We have the fake cars, and we are dying more on the roads. More than 1 million Africans die. In Uganda, I think it is 3,000 of us. Every year, we are dying and we are counting. Now, the challenge is that we never ever look at the person that is causing, that has imported this fake tire that has killed 80 people in a bus as a terrorist. We never look at them as a murderer. What do we charge them with? Overspeeding, reckless driving. Charge them with murder. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you are bringing a poisonous product and using it to make money, you are using it for bioterrorism, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
You are using it to actually cause death.
I like that.
You see what I'm saying?
That.
So I think it is high time we define the narrative. And this is a shock that I have found. Why is it that this issue of counterfeiting that has a very wide and disastrous effect, not just on the life of the consumers, but has a disastrous effect on the economy?
Yes.
Has anyone out there, apart from complaining and asking your MPs, this road was not done, many of those roads were done 2 years ago. But does anybody ask, where does the pothole come from? I was in the US in Dallas one time. I had a Nigerian cab driver, and he told me he came to Dallas in the 70s, and he said, you know, Fred, this place has virtually been the same. I said, okay, the buildings? I said, what about the roads? He said, this road was done when I came here in 76, and they have never laid it again. What does that mean? It means that it's possible actually to do a road for a decade. for we Africans, we Ugandans, we think that a road is supposed to last 6 months. No, it is actually possible to have a road done for 10 years. But why is it that year after year we keep budgeting? The Minister of Finance will read the budget, and every time they say going to 1 trillion going to UNRWA for road construction. Why do we never ask, why are you putting a trillion after trillion after trillion to do the roads? Who is taking the money? Who is supplying the fake bitumen? We say nothing.
On a lighter note, because it's heavy now, I need to lighten up myself a bit on behalf of the viewers. Do traffic officers know how to drive cars? Those people who stop us and tell us pass, do they know how to drive? Are they trained drivers?
I have seen the police cars which have learner L. I've seen some policemen there in uniforms being taught how to drive.
So you think all of them learn? It's mandatory that they know what it actually means to drive.
I think
when they tell me come and the traffic lights are red and they are saying come and they are teaching me how to...
You see, counterfeits express themselves in many ways, including in service. The police, the traffic police is part of this society, which is earning a distinction for being the world's counterfeit center, both in service and product. And actually we look out. I mean, look at it from the churches where we
You're
go.
So funny.
We have
both in service and product.
Yes.
So
what do you expect?
Wow.
If we have a lot of forged driving permits on the market.
Okay.
You know very well that in these parts of the world,
you can
get a passport. You see foreigners getting national IDs, so you can get a driving permit. So
a fake driving permit.
How do we even know that instructor who is instructing the policeman actually has the right papers?
That are not fake.
No, because this is a country where we have commercialized education, and the thing now that we need to show is that is my degree, that's the part I had. But I tell you, most of these chicken and goats we slaughter on graduations are really, they were slaughtered in vain. There's nothing to celebrate. We have a lot of fakes in the education sector that it has become a new normal. That every time, during our time, once you presented your certificate, whether PLE or UCE or whatever, there was no question. There was even no question to cross-check. It was genuine. These days, even when you present yourself, Richard, that this is Richard,
the likelihood
that you are impersonating somebody, so they'll have to cross-check.
Oh my goodness.
Is this the real Richard? It's that bad.
And news?
In terms of news?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Like if I'm at NTV and there's this big story. Before, they used to want to run news like BAM. Yesterday or the other day, we were hearing from our genuine, League of the Genuine Partners, QG Sachi, yes. And they were presenting something about first to report, that idea that you are the one to report an occasion first before anyone does. But now that TV stations are not sure whether an incident that actually took place was genuine or fake.
Because of the pressure now to be the first.
But now they can't be sure.
You look at CNN has the I report. So meaning Richard is here and he gets the link and he will report here. So he will report based on, there is no editing. You can imagine how many people are thrown out of job. The programming and editing of TV has changed because everything
But how are we sure that it's genuine news?
I think that's why we now have fake news. Fake news is basically an extension of counterfeiting because there is now motivation to manipulate not only a product so that I make money, but also to influence you. So the urge to push information out there and get, because we have a lot of consumerism. I know the producers are saying we stop. The urge to get information there and grab the attention of everyone and is so strong. And technology is good, but technology has driven fakes.
Because it is built on a fake subculture.
Yes.
So anything that comes out of that, whether it's news, service, product.
And it feeds the human need, the human desire, which is insatiable. the desire to know, the desire to be the first, the desire. That's why they say addiction to social media. Dopamine, they call it dopamine.
Yes.
It's crazy. It's getting small kids. These days, a small girl, her mood will be affected because she posted on Snapchat or whatever,
and
she didn't get likes. So she will be depressed and get, so you find small kids now going for counseling. I need to see a counselor for depression, a 12-year-old. Why? Technology. But it is part of the counterfeit culture that we have. Richard, we have to stop here.
Wow.
This is
Wow.
the League of the Genuine program, a special program that was brought to discuss ACN at 5 years. We are 5 years this year. The Anti-Counterfeit Network started 5 years ago in February. We have been discussing the journey of the Anti-Counterfeit Network for 5 years. We hope you now have an idea. What are these guys about? What is it that we are putting on the menu? What do we think is your role in ensuring that together we push back, we fight, we stop providing a market for the counterfeiters who are harming both our health and wealth as a country. So until next time, we need to say bye-bye for now.